Okay, regarding my journey, I was mostly focused on my forest service, right? Because previously I had worked in NGOs that were involved in wildlife conservation. So I wanted to specifically clear फॉरेस्ट सर्विस एग्जाम. आपको सबको पता है कि फॉरेस्ट सर्विस में द मेजर चैलेंज ऑफ क्लियरिंग फॉरेस्ट सर्विस इज द प्रीलिम्स. और आपको पता है कि nowadays how prelims is getting challenging. So there's a lot of efforts that have to put in. She is going on making these subjects, these standard textbooks. अगर आप अगली 3 years, if you have been seeing for the last 3 years, आप देख रहे हो कि लक्ष्मीकांत, ये रमेश सिंह, ये स्टैंडर्ड टेक्स्ट बुक्स जो हम पढ़ रहे थे इतना साल, दे आर बिकमिंग रिडेंडेंट. सो अभी प्रीलिम्स एक बड़ा चैलेंज है. सो अगर if you're able to clear prelims with a good cutoff, you have better chances of cracking forest service. Having said that, mains is also a huge challenge here, right? So mains is a huge challenge because now that the competition is getting intense, there are a lot of people preparing exclusively for forest service also, right? So yes, so you have to concentrate your efforts on the prelims and mains part. And as you all know, interview is a test of one single day, right? So if you can hold your nerves, agar aap you're telling whatever you've been prompt in your tap, I think that is also not a huge challenge, right? So mains topics, AK, how did you manage revision of mains topics during prelim phase? See, I had an exclusive strategy from beginning. What I used to do was, because the prelims is becoming so challenging these days, right? Exclusively 1 or 2 months, at least 2 months have to be kept exclusively for prelims preparation, right? So you can afford to not do mains topics, because after prelims you'll have sufficient time wherein if you have done your homework properly, you can finish off your main subjects in that time, right? Okay, Vibhuti Bhushan sir, I have MSc in biology and now I continue with that course. So does UPSC best option for me? See, विभूति भूषण, because आपके पास एक MSc भी है जियोलॉजी में, आपको मेंस इट विल बिकम easier for you, because देखो, हम लोग जो इंजीनियर्स क्या करते हैं, आफ्टर आवर प्रीलिम्स इज डन, वी चूज फॉरेस्ट्री एंड जियोलॉजी, बिकॉज फॉरेस्ट्री कंपैरेटिवली इजी होता है, इट कैन बी डन इन 3 months, राइट? whereas geology is a pretty technical subject. So because you have an MSc in geology, you definitely have an edge as far as mains is concerned. Okay. So if you can combine your optional with forestry, which is a light subject actually, then you can do well, right? लक्ष्मीकांत बुक लेने के बाद नेक्स्ट ईयर दूसरी खरीदना होगा या नहीं? नहीं, सी मनीष, दिस इज दिस इज मिसकंसेप्शन. लक्ष्मीकांत या क्या हमारा एनसीईआरटी है ना, ये हमको एक प्लेटफॉर्म देता है बस. अगर आप देख रहे हो 3 साल बाद, 2-3 साल बाद से क्वेश्चंस लक्ष्मीकांत से भी नहीं आ रहा है, ठीक है? तो ये बुक्स क्या करते हैं, बुक्स हमारा फाउंडेशन को स्टेबलाइज करते हैं बस. It does not mean that you have to go buying Lakshmikant's every edition every year. That does not make sense. What you have to do is, you have to start off with Lakshmikant, right? And then you have to start doing your newspapers, current affairs. So what you have to do, once you do your newspapers, you will have to retract those topics. Let us assume there is a topic on election commission. So elections is coming in some states this year, okay? Let us take a simple example. So elections is coming, and what you have to do is, UPSC will never ask you where the election was held, what was the results of the election. UPSC will go back to the basics and it will ask you what is the powers of the election commission, okay, or what is the difference in powers between the state and central election commission. So this is what you have to prepare on. You have to always know to retract your basics. So where, see, questions in UPSC prelims does not come randomly. It comes from, UPSC has a certain basis. So what UPSC does, it picks questions from current affairs and it asks the basics. Okay. So don't worry about books. Take one book and do it completely rather than going for books every year. Okay. Prelim strategy. Anshul asks what is prelim strategy, and AK is asking what is your key takeaways for clearing forest cutoff in prelims. See, the point is prelims. There are some standard textbooks. Okay. Agar if you see for we are talking. So what you have to do, you do these textbooks once, right? Get your basics right. After you do your basics right, you're done with those books. What you do next, you have to pick your newspaper. See, newspaper is one of the most important aspects of clearing UPSC prelims. Okay, so once you have to do your newspapers meticulously. What I was doing was, I have never relied on some tuition material, those ready-made materials that you get in the market. What they do is they make a life easier. I agree, but you're not. Am I audible? Can someone say yes? Can someone say? Can someone please confirm if I'm audible? Yeah. Okay. So once your base is set, once your basics are done, take a good newspaper, like for example, Hindu. Okay. Make daily current notes. Like for example, what I used to do was, I used to keep one book exclusively for current affairs, right? So I used to divide that book into multiple segments, like one 200-page book, and divide into multiple segments. First segment was polity, second segment was environment, third segment was economy, fourth segment was reports and indices, fifth segment was statistics. So I used to divide the book. So what happens was, when I'm reading Hindu, suppose there is some political news, okay, some not political news per se, but polity news. What I used to do was, I used to make notes in the segment that I had kept for polity. So what happens was, tomorrow, let us say there is a news on polity. I'll get all my polity notes at one single place. Okay. That way, what happens when you're revising, right? When you're revising, your life becomes more easier because you have the entire polity segment at one place. Similarly for environment, similarly for economics. So please put in that effort to make your own current affairs notes. Do not मार सकते हैं अगर आपके पास जो if you have any notes, any ready-made material. UPSC is specifically trying to not ask you questions from that ready-made notes. Okay, try to put in that effort and make your own notes. Okay, CSAT की study कैसे करें? See, with the exam becoming more dynamic again, see UPSC when it introduced the CSAT, it said it will just be qualifying in nature. But as years have passed by, especially for rural students and students who've done their graduation in a medium, in a local language, it is the CSAT is becoming a challenge, right? So what you have to do is, you have to put in that effort. See, times हम पहले क्या कर रहे थे, we never used to even study for CSAT. We used to go directly and clear CSAT, right? But now even we have to put that extra effort. Why? Because the case studies in CSAT, you don't know if they're English or Latin, because some of the case studies are really complicated, right? उनका बहुत चैलेंजिंग हो गया. Okay. And as far as aptitude is concerned, वो भी the questions are difficult. Some of you might be proficient in aptitude, but some of you might be CSAT might be a challenge for you. So concentrate on what part you are best in. Okay, if you're good at aptitude, try to attend aptitude questions as much as possible. I know some people who just come out after attending aptitude questions and it works for them. As far as preparation is concerned, you have to start your CSAT preparation with the exclusive prelims preparation that I was telling you. Okay, you have to keep 2 months exclusively for CSAT and GS. Okay, do CSAT at least for 2 hours every day, right? Only then you have a chance, because you end up आपको let us assume GS में आपको 120 आ रहा है और CSAT आप नहीं क्लियर कर रहे, तो there is no point. Okay. My English language is not good, but I want to write exam in English medium, but there are spelling mistakes and sentence structure wrong. How to remove this problem? Manish, at least for the forest service exam, English, unfortunately, is the only medium that you can write the exam is. There is one English paper exclusively for English, और ये पेपर मेक और ब्रेक हो सकता है क्योंकि I have seen that some of my batchmates in the academy, some of them have got 150s, some of them have got around 80s, 90s, 100s also. So आप इंग्लिश अगर फॉरेस्ट सर्विस में कॉन्सेंट्रेट करना चाहते हो तो आप इंग्लिश आप जरूर इम्प्रूव करना है. सिविल्स में ये मैटर नहीं होता है क्योंकि सिविल्स में यू हैव दैट एडवांटेज ऑफ राइटिंग इन योर रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस. And in civils, the focus is not on how you express it, but what you write it. The content matters more in civils, but because the forest service exam is exclusively in Hindi, आपका थोड़ा problem हो सकता है. Okay. With respect to main or pre or integrated notes, please do integrated notes because don't waste your time. Because see, let us have a comprehensive understanding of all subjects. See, as far as prelims is concerned, I'll tell you something. You will have to start enjoying the process because you would have seen a lot of people jo 3 saal 4 saal they will be stuck in clearing prelims only. Why? Because they see prelims as some kind of a hurdle. The moment you start understanding topics in depth, right, your prelims also becomes easier, and at the same time you're developing a keen interest in the concept itself, which will be useful for your mains. So I don't believe in this strategy where people tend to differentiate prelims and mains. Make uh, see, basically you're not making notes, you're trying to have a comprehensive understanding of the topic that you're studying. Okay, so don't worry about prelims and mains, do a comprehensive notes. We should focus on Anshul Rutala. We should focus on static more, right, sir. See, Anshul, static matters. Why? Because static gives you the basic, right? Without the basics, you cannot have understanding of the dynamic topics that you are going to study, right? So that way, yes, static is important, but at the same time, do not try to uh, neglect the current affairs. That is also very important. Okay, static with a comprehensive understanding of the current affairs will help you a lot, right? Okay. Okay. My optional was forestry and geology. There in civils, my optional was Kannada literature. Okay. Okay. Someone asked me, Rishikesh Kakade, sir, humanity versus engineering option, which is to be selected as an engineering student. ऋषिकेश, सी, अगर आप ऑप्शनल चूज कर रहे हैं ना, आई एम नॉट द पर्सन, नो वन इज द बेस्ट पर्सन टू एडवाइज यू विच इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शनल. See, there are certain aspects, however, that you have to keep in mind before you choose your optional. What are the things that you have to keep in mind? Ensure that there is good material available for the optional. Okay. Second one is, before you choose any optional, go through the syllabus of the optional ones, because in a certain optional you might be clueless. Okay, in a certain optional you might have prior knowledge of some topics, right? So ensure that you have certain knowledge about the syllabus. Don't start off on a blind note. Third one is, go through the results of UPSC for some time now, for previous 3 or 4 years, because UPSC has this habit of scaling. We all know UPSC does scaling. So you can know that geography until some years was down. Okay, whereas anthropology was doing well. For example, there is a subject that is not doing well. You take it, unfortunately, and UPSC have this tendency to scale it down every year. So what is the point? So when you're choosing an optional, keep these three things in mind. First of all, you should have material for it. Second one, you should know that how the optional is being doing, how the optional is being doing for develop a liking for that optional. Otherwise, because optional, we are going to do it for a long time. Don't choose optional on only on the advice of others, right? Suraj Surve, I am Suraj in class 12 from Maharashtra. How should I plan my track towards IAS? Suraj, you're too young for this exam right now. Okay. So, for a start, you could probably start reading the newspapers first. Develop an understanding towards newspaper, and newspaper also, you should never like, see, there are certain topics that are definitely not needed for this example. Let us say someone gives some political leader is giving a is making a speech. Is it important for us? Definitely not. Is a crime news important for us? Not. Is sports news important for us? Of course, odd questions do come sometimes, but the amount of effort that we are putting and the results that we are getting out of it must be commensurate, right? Let us assume we are putting 2 hours of effort per day on just exclusively reading for sports, and we end up getting one question in prelims. Where is the result that we opted for? So you have to know what to study in the newspaper and what not to study in the newspaper. So Suraj, for now, you can start reading the newspapers pretty well. And newspapers, we have one newspaper that has worked for all of us. That is Hindu. Don't rely on any other newspaper. Start doing Hindu. यार आपका वोकैबुलरी भी इम्प्रूव हो जाता है और आपका एक नॉलेज डेवलप होता है. ठीक है. Sir, I'm preparing for UPSC exam and college exam. Both are, yes, there are a lot of people who have cleared UPSC in their final year also. But because you're in the college, try focusing on your college exam once, because UPSC तो आपको attempts होती है, लेकिन कॉलेज में भी थोड़ा ध्यान रखिए. ठीक है. Sir, I'm preparing from 1 year, not continuously. I've completed modern history, economy, polity, optional. Akash Tiwari, 50%. Should I appear in 2023 or join offline coaching for discipline and go for 2024? Akash, what I suggest is, see, irrespective of how many marks that you take, right? The real environment of writing UPSC prelims will never be replicated, because मैं देखा हूँ कि ज्यादातर लोग who are mentally very strong also, in the exam they tend to panic, and because of that they fail in the exam. Okay. So if you are confident about giving an attempt, if you have more number of attempts, you can just go and give a feel to see how it matters. Again, I re-emphasize the fact that attempts don't matter. If someone is telling you that in the interview they see people who have less attempts, all that is nonsense. Okay. So if you are confident, I think you should give a shot at it. But offline coaching itself is not mandatory. But if you want guidance, you can definitely take offline coaching. I hope I've answered your question, Akash. Yes, Manish Sagar. Sir, English language is mandatory for IFS officer. Yes, sir. English is mandatory because a lot matters on how you are writing your exam, and interview में भी आपको English में नहीं, I mean bilingual use कर सकते हैं, लेकिन हिंदी, there's no option of giving the entire interview in Hindi, right? So yes, English is important as far as IFS is concerned. PSIR, yes, it has been doing well for some time now. Okay. But ensure that you get the right guidance. Okay. Don't just try to punch in the dark. If you have good guidance, I think you can do well as far as PSIR is concerned. Okay, strategy for forestry is, see, there is one book that all of us do, Manikandan and Manikandan Prabhu. Okay, you can rely on that book, because that book will help a lot. Okay, Manikandan Prabhu. Going beyond that, you can going beyond Manikandan Prabhu, what you can do is, you can get those silviculture, especially as far as silviculture is concerned. You can try to get some notes from any library. Some libraries have silviculture material. You can probably take that. See, one thing about forestry mains is that questions don't repeat. So what you can do is, uh, probably you can keep 2 or 3 years question paper, okay? And let us take, let us say mensuration is a topic that you're preparing. What you can do is you can safely neglect questions that have been asked in the previous 2 or 3 years, because most of our most people who appear for forest service mains are also appearing for civil services. So what they do this strategy, and usually in forest service mains, this strategy works. So in all topics, try to go through the question papers of the previous 2 or 3 years, okay? And the questions that have come in the last 2 or 3 years, neglect it. Why? Because the questions don't tend to repeat, right? My interview questions. See, my interview questions were very exciting because in my DAF, I told them that I had worked in NGOs related to wildlife conservation. Okay, so basically they were testing my knowledge on these aspects. Wow, if I really work, they were asking me questions directly from the field. मेरा panel में I think there was one person who was APCCF. I'm not sure. So he kept on probing about such questions like, what was your experience with the frontline staff? What is the major challenges that we see with man-animal conflict? So these on ground, these questions that are seen on the ground were asked by him. Whereas there was one more person, he was a technical guy, so he was asking me questions only on very technical questions. Even after I told him, see, in the interview, if you don't know something, you can say that you don't know, rather than bluffing or trying to manipulate the answer. If you be very frank, I think you will be rewarded, because I got very good marks in interview. Okay, so ensure that you write, when you're filling your DAF, be careful. Try to write only things that you've done. Okay, don't try to falsify things. Don't write stuff that you've not done, because the panel has the knack of getting the truth out. Whatever you've done, write it in down, even if it is very less. See, people have hobbies such as walking, okay, but UPSC does not it does not differentiate between someone who's walking or someone who's a marathoner. UPSC will just try to check if you've been frank in filling your draft, if you've been truthful in filling your draft. Okay, so questions, UPSC interview, they can ask you anything under the blue. Okay, just ensure that you are being honest. You're being honest, and whatever you know, tell them that you know. Otherwise, you can always tell I don't know. Okay. Uh, See, can you tell about criteria for IAS and IFS exam? You can go through the notification, because जनरल के लिए कुछ क्राइटेरिया है, ओबीसी के लिए, एससी और एसटी के लिए कुछ क्राइटेरिया है, and as far as IFS also is concerned, you have to be from the scientific stream. Commerce graduates are not allowed, doctors are not allowed. So there are certain qualifications with respect to your physical aspects also. Like for example, IFS, there has to be a certain mandatory height. So it would be better if you like go through a notification, because it is factual. Honestly, even I don't remember the exact criteria. Okay. Okay. Sir, to get high marks in prelims to qualify even for, what is the strategy for prelims? Yeah, Raghavendra, I've already told before that prelims is quite a challenge. I've gone to the Forest Service interview thrice, and all the three times my basic strategies is not to rely on any tuition material. Okay, I had to put in all the extra effort to do the newspapers. I have done, see, newspapers I have done. Yojana magazine is very important. There is one magazine called Down to Earth, if you know, that is important as far as prelims is concerned, because I have seen questions that have been directly picked from that magazine, right? So that magazine is important. And like I told before, have a notes, divide the notes into multiple segments. Polity one part, economics one part, in reports and indices one part, current affairs one part, science and tech one part, and try to make notes in that segment that you've made, so that you get all polity related notes in one. So what happens is that when you're revising, right, it becomes easier for you to retract that topic back to your basic books, and also it gives you an extra confidence because when you have science and tech everything in one place, during one day before your prelims exam, it basically it is saying that entire thing that has happened in science and tech for the last 1 year or whatever time you started prelims before, it is there in one part, no? So your confidence doubles. Okay, so this is a strategy for current affairs. Having said that, do not neglect your static books. Have a basic understanding of the standard books that all of us have been preparing. Okay, like Lakshmikant, Ramesh Singh, or your NCRTs, or your Shankar IAS book. Okay, and now that CSAT is also become important, devote for at least 2 months for your prelim strategy. Okay, सर यूपीएससी के लिए कहाँ से स्टार्ट करें? The best place to start for UPSC. See, some questions that I'll be telling might be very philosophical, but Manish, you should have a drive because you will never know. Agar after you come to the, if you're preparing exclusively, you never know after how many years you'll end up clearing the exam. So you need to have that strong willpower to sit and put in that extra effort. You should have the commitment, okay, and you should have the persistence. Especially persistence is very important, okay. And try to know why you want to clear this exam. As simple as that. If you have the motivation strong, if you have the will to persist, I think you can definitely succeed. Did you prepare forest main post prelims or before? How did you do? Because see, prelims, cracking prelims, especially for forest service, is quite dicey these days because the paper has become difficult. Okay, the paper from the last 3 years is becoming more and more challenging. UPSC is asking questions like what is judicial custody, questions that you don't find in your static books like Lakshmikant. So, because the prelims is becoming more dicey, you'll have to be prepared for both forest service and civil. At least you should have an orientation towards civil services. Me, I was focusing only on forest service, so my forestry was done. Okay, so after prelims, मैं क्या किया? I took geology uh, classes. Okay, I was working also. So what I did was weekends, 6 hours marathon classes I used to have for geology. That I think helped me a lot. Apart from that, my forestry was quite on the right side. Geology, I became comfortable after prelims, and general studies or हमारा इंग्लिश के लिए you have to put in a little bit of effort. Not for general studies because अगर आप civil services को तैयारी कर रहे हो, you've been writing a lot of answers. I assume that if you are preparing for mains, especially for civil services, you have to write a lot. Okay, so compared to that, general studies here is not that complicated. So general studies becomes quite okay. Your English can be improved in some time, whereas your optional becomes challenging. So yes, I had a mixture of both pre and post pre preparation as far as forest mains is concerned. Okay, I read a question somewhere how to prepare for how to improve your answer writing skills. Okay, so how to improve answer writing skills? Manish, the thing is to write more. Okay, you have to start writing more because I've seen a lot of people who don't write. What do? They keep studying. They do keep studying, but they don't test their knowledge in form of presentation. Writing is just not uh, what we used to do in college. It does not work like that anymore. Okay, you have to have a comprehensive understanding of each topic, right? You have to show your answers to someone who's probably written the exam, who's probably gone to interview once or twice, and you have to have the necessary presentation skills. Because let us assume you have a knowledge of the topic, but you're not able to present the answer, right? Those questions, those answers do not fetch any marks. So it is a mixture of anything. So how to improve answer writing? You have to start writing more. Okay. There is a format for everything. For a start, you do one thing: take the economic survey that comes out every year. See the language in that. The language in that is very simple. Even someone with a basic understanding of economy can understand the economic survey. उसमें jargons नहीं use करते हैं, basic words, and they present it in a form that it is very comprehensive. There is continuity in each topic. So that should be how answer is. So if you want to have a knowledge about how to improve your answer writing skills, where do you start? You read the economic survey, you'll get an idea about how answers should be prepared. Okay. Shushma Prerna, sir, I'm from Karnataka and I'm preparing for IFS. How can I score more in prelims so that I can reach? Okay, IFS cutoff. Shubha, I've told you before, prelims is challenging. So whatever strategy that I've told about keeping a separate current affairs book, having your basics right, okay, and having a sound in-depth knowledge of subjects, these are the ones that you should be focusing on. Okay. Prelims is challenging. Let's accept the fact that prelims is not a cakewalk anymore. A lot of people who go to interview also tend to fail in interview. I mean, in prelims the next year. So yes, prelims is a challenge. So you have to put in that extra effort as far as prelims is concerned, right? Give some tips to study geography. Bharatim, I'm not the right person. Geography is not a subject. But see, honestly speaking, geography is a subject that I loved. Why? Because geography, what I used to do was geography. If you see the questions, static geography, one or two questions comes in prelims, right? But even those one or two questions, unfortunately, how it is coming, we're not able to answer that question. The UPSC asking such difficult questions from static geography also. Last time, I think it had asked some questions on uh, southern oscillation. I'm not sure. So what you do is the questions are mostly map based, especially as far as prelims is concerned. So there is something very exciting about maps. Why? Because let us assume, let us say, for example, uh, uh, Russia Ukraine conflict. I know that is a old topic. There's a region called Donetsk. Okay, UPSC has a tendency to ask where this place is. Okay, where this place is in, it will give a region. Like for example, is it in the Middle East? Is it in the North Americas? So if you have done your current affairs right, and you can like come back to your basics, you can do the map reading very well. UPSC used to ask, remember, like at least 3 or 4 years ago, UPSC used to ask like which river flows in this particular national park. Okay, it used to ask questions like that as far as prelims is concerned. Now it has gone beyond that also, right? So geography, at least for prelims, I can guide you. Prelims try to concentrate more on maps because questions from maps are coming, right? Rather than concentrating more on your, I mean, I don't know. I can't suggest you on the mains. How many months of down to earth did you focus? Down to earth, see, down to earth is a fortnightly magazine, right? Uh, at least 6 to 7 months, 1 month prior to your prelims, because or 15 or the fortnight prior to your prelims. Down to earth, and down to earth is a very small magazine here. I think 60 pages magazine. In that 60 pages, I think 30 pages will be analytics, pictures, and 30 pages is what you have to read. So if you sit down, I think 3 hours you can finish your down to earth. Okay. Uh, Sir, please tell all the extra sources you took for UPSC prelims. If you are trying to ask me if these were okay, 1 second. Yeah, if you are trying to ask me if I did any tuition material, that was strict no. My extra materials was what I told you: Hindu newspaper, Down to Earth, Frontline, Yojana. These were the things that always helped me in whatever prelims that I've cleared. 3 times I've gone to forest interview mains, and 2 times I've cleared the prelims, at least for civils cutoff. Okay, so nothing, no tuition material whatsoever. Okay, play smart. What you do for sources like reports and indices, like IMS published which of the following reports. For that you can take a compilation at the end of your exam and start doing that. But apart from the standard books, apart from the magazines and newspapers that I've told you, I've not done anything. Okay, just even as far as the standard books is concerned, have an in-depth knowledge. Okay, but don't assume that the questions will come only from there. It will never come from there. Like how GC Liang was used to be a Bible until some years ago. Okay, now GC Liang is nowhere. It is over. Questions, GC Liang is as good as nothing. Questions are not coming from there. Likewise, polity is becoming, the Lakshmikant is becoming nothing. Okay, it will help you understand, have an understanding basics, but direct questions will never come. So try to widen your knowledge from all the newspapers and the magazines that I have told you. Okay, Shivkumar Gangal. Okay, how to start answer writing, like way of writing. Yes, answer writing is a challenge. Like I've told you before, structure your answers well, have an in-depth knowledge of the topics that you're trying to address, because half knowledge will never fetch you any marks, only if you have an in-depth. That is why I kept telling you that do not try to differentiate between your prelims and main strategy. Prelims will give you facts or some basic understanding of the topic. Mains will deepen your knowledge. Only when you have both knowledges can you can you present a good answer. Okay, after your knowledge base is strong, start writing more and more, even and have a mentor who can like check your answers continuously, and also evaluate yourself, like check your answers that you write 15 days ago, 1 month ago, and the answer you're writing now. Compare your answers and you will know. See, the best way, someone told me the best way to be sure about answers that you know, you check your answers after like 1 or 2 months. If you're preparing, if you're constantly improving, those answers that you've written 2 months or 1 month ago, no, it will look like nonsense. Why? Because your knowledge has improved and now you can write better answers. That is you bettering yourself. I think that is also a good strategy. Recheck your answers. Go back and check the answers that you've written. Try to answer the same question. Try to add on more points. Okay, and make it more presentable. That is very important, actually. Did you take any mock test series? Okay. See, mock test series, if you're asking for prelims, no. I'm not a huge fan of mock test series. Why? Because too much of test series also tends to confuse you in the exam. Okay. You'll feel like you've probably seen the question somewhere, and you tend to go by the options, but that ends up being the wrong. Okay. So mock test series should be just like a practice. Don't. I've seen a lot of people who get discouraged because they end up getting low scores in mark, or you have these exams, no, like they'll give you all India rank. Okay, out of 20,000 people, your rank is 5,000. So what happens is that people tend to lose confidence. Nothing. Mark is not a test of anything. Mark is just a practice thing. Okay. Okay. My batchmates are making fun of me here. ओके सर बुक के से लिखा तो राइटिंग अच्छी नहीं है तो आप ओके व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन ओके कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेश्चंस बहुत थे प्रीलिम्स में कैसे अंडरस्टैंड yes, conceptual questions are really important, even though questions it is done asking you the questions that it was asking, even the trend is over now. Okay, so you probably have to expand your horizon. You have to go and gain your knowledge from other sources. The other sources matlab your newspaper, see, your magazines, these are your bibles. Please keep doing it regularly. Do not neglect any of that. Okay. Okay, I think I've answered much of your questions. Are there any genuine questions apart from the mockery of my batchmates? Sandeep, PT करवाऊंगा cancel. Anything more? is it. I think we can end the live streaming. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Uh, Previous year's question, how many years? See, previous year's questions, Raghavendra, it gives you an idea of on what lines UPSC is thinking. Okay. See, like I told you, there is a trend that UPSC used to ask some years ago. Like, for example, which is a river that flows in Jim Corbett National Park? Okay. Now UPSC is asking questions about mammals. Like, for example, last year UPSC had asked question about what is the gestation period of elephants. Like now it is asking, it is going deeper into large mammals. I mean, what I'm trying to tell is previous year's question paper gives you an orientation about what UPSC is asking. Okay, rather don't rely exactly on previous year's question paper. To understand the direction in which UPSC is asking questions, I think 3 years max to max is more than sufficient, right? See, how to prepare for interview? Can you please explain? See, interview. One second, guys. See, interview. Focus on your DAF. DAF is very important. You should know every word about what you've written in the DAF. Let us assume you've written something like my hobby is. See, that will land you in a soup because uh, I mean you're either falsifying the facts or you've not put in that effort to know about what is happening around you, right? So this is very important. You should know what is what you've written in the draft. Apart from that, you should know whatever is happening around you, especially as far as the current affairs is concerned, especially in your region. You should know whatever is happening. Let us assume you're from okay, someone is talking about cheetah relocation topic. What dimensions you will be explore? Okay, very good question. See, cheetah relocation, you will have to know where the cheetahs are being introduced. Let us assume Kuno. You should know where Kuno is, and you should know which are the tribes that live in Kuno. See, this is a you have to know if there are any rivers that pass through Kuno National Park. You should know from where the cheetahs came in, right? You should know if the government has any other plans to introduce cheetahs in any other national park. See, this was a question actually. UPSC had asked, uh, where is Kunopalpur? Okay, so you should know the dimension, like which are the rivers, which are the ranges that are there, mountain ranges that are there, which are the tribes region. Okay, where are the cheetahs coming from? These are the things that you should know about such a thing. Okay, guys, I think that is it.